Good evening, people. Specimens, creatures. I forgot what else I could go with after that, so we'll just go with that. Specimens. I think that's everything. Cool. Sup. Where's my tab? There we go. Oh, it's stretch. Do a little stretch. Ooh. 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 Getting old. Getting old. Candy. Princess. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, we're gonna have some fun ranting. I don't know how many people play Fire Emblem, but we'll be talking about a little bit of Fire Emblem. A little bit. This is easy basic. I don't know if I should react to the actual direct or not. I've already watched the direct, but I wonder if I should go through the direct and talk about it, individual parts of it. But the problem is that I don't know if I'll get copyright striked on it or not. Hey, Renee. So it's one of those where I'm like, because the direct goes for, well, the actual direct goes for like 23 minutes, which is ironic because they spend like 29 or 30 minutes of it just dribbling. So and then I also do want to talk about a tweet, which was funny because is my head still there? No, my head is still not there. There we go. There's been a tweet. I don't know how many people know who Fifi is. She basically makes non-safe for work content, 18 plus type stuff. She basically begged friends posts all the time, and she made a tweet like basically saying, from my experience, creators that do 18 plus content tend to be the absolute nicest people ever, while people that treat 18 plus creators bad tend to be the most insufferable people on the planet. And then she does her like point proven after she locks her comments up. I thought this tweet was really funny. I didn't really talk about it. One of the things that people should know about Fifi is that she constantly friendship bait posts where she whinges about how she has no friends, right? So just show it all there. She'll like friendship bait post where she's like, oh, I've got no friends to collaborate, I'm so lonely, and then all her friends that she's collaborated with will all be like, oh, you know. But the funny thing is she'll make that post, but then weeks before it she's collaborated with like 8 different people and they're all her friends. And then she'll friend bait post and then collab with her friends again and then friend bait post. And it got to a point where people started drawing up all of the tweets that she had made. Fifi makes hentai recommended on her channel. Yeah. And she'll just keep doing it until people like compiled like a long list of like over a year worth of bait posts that she would do. And then she would start blocking people because they exposed her for bait posting for sympathy. And then you look at her friends group, which, might I add, her friends group are literally people that went after Cinder, which, if you actually look at who fits in the 18 plus category, these are some of the most catty women on the platform. So I just think it's kind of ironic that the very person that is saying that the 18 plus content creator space is so nice, while she is friends with some of the most insufferable, toxic, egotistic douchebags on the platform. Weren't her and Nux friends? I believe so, and Nux is a whole different also kettle of fish as well. Nux is ironically probably one of the biggest hypocrites on the planet. Dude used to goon post and be friends with some of the biggest gooners out there, and used to post goon stuff himself, and then suddenly he became religious overnight, and then suddenly he no longer liked gooning. Rev did the exact same thing. Rev was a massive gooner, and so was his wife. Nux did it. Tectone did it. They all did it. They were all big gooners on the right. And then as soon as it became a thing, they all suddenly became anti-gooning. But I just thought it was interesting because Fifi is friends with people like Belle, who, might I add, hates men. And so one of the things that a lot of people point out with Fifi is that it's like going to a, right, like a 5-star or any type of restaurant, right? And then wondering why the person that's serving you is nice to you. And it's like, yeah, because they've been paid to be nice to you. Fifi is paid to be nice to her consumers. Do you think she's going to be an absolute douchebag to the people that are paying her money to be a e-girl online? No, of course not. That's their job. Their job is to be nice to their audience. So this whole idea that they're just nice on the good of their will kind of falls on deaf ears, because to me, I'm not going to believe them. Right? It's just like, no, your job is to be nice to your audience, which is ironic because that is their job, and yet they still show publicly that they have hostile intentions towards men, which are the same men that they will beg for money. So it's why I can't take Fifi at all serious. And I liked Okko's post here where I think the thing is that that's most funny about this is that even the lewd stuff, Miku and myself, and I'm one of those as well, I like my lewd stuff. I like, you know, there are actually some cosplayers or non-safe for work content creators that I follow. But the reason why I follow them is because they're professional. They don't build parasocial relationships. They don't attack their own audience. They don't beg post. They just make content, right? In a way that feels more professional. And I mean, you can interact with your audience, and many of them do. But the parasocial aspect is the issue that I have. With a lot of these like 18 plus content creators is they sell the girlfriend experience. I don't mind Luke creators, especially when they keep it away from kids, which I agree. Gotta keep that lewd stuff away from kids. But people like Fifi who attention or like she has been worth being critical of, which I agree. Fifi has a long history of begging for attention in the most parasocial and toxic way possible. And it's just the same bait posts. And if you got a problem with that, you might be a... yeah. And that's the thing. I saw V. He was dying on a hill trying to defend her and other, like... But V was, like, deliberately ignoring the point that everyone was making, which is why I'm just done with him. I've been putting up with him being stupid for the last several months, and it's just, like, I just looked at V's tweets, and I'm just like, bro... I think sometimes you deliberately pretend to be dumb to make the dumbest points. Say, man, she used to post fan service anime clips from... yeah, and I mean, a lot of them used to be decent. But for some reason, everything has become so politicized that everyone's had to pick camps. And it's made people act in a certain way. Like I said, you look at like Nux, Tectone, Rev said Desu, his wife, all these content creators like those acted in a certain way. And then once things became more politicized... and I mean much more heavy politicized, where camps were being drawn, they all started acting more in specific cult-like mindsets, right? On the far right. And then you've got sort of like the far left kind of mindset as well. And you've got all these like, these e-girls that absolutely despise men. They talk about the opposition as like they need to game in themselves in Minecraft. It's like horrible ways of talking about each other. And that's why I hate the far left and the far right, because the two extremes have become so... It's like two sides of the same coin, right? It's the horseshoe theory, where you end up going back around and they're just both ripping into each other, but they both act in the same way. And that's what I just find really funny, because yes, Nux was friends with Fifi. But now Nux is all anti-gooning, anti-porn and all the rest, which is ironic because the dude pretends as if he was never into that kind of stuff. The same way that Tectone was a massive lolly fan. Now suddenly he's anti-lolly and claims that he was never into it and acts as if he never... The dude's a massive hypocrite. The dude tries to rewrite history. All of these content creators on the far right and on the far left are trying to rewrite history as if they've never done these certain actions, and now suddenly it's, oh, you know, oh, we didn't do these things. The hatred for men from the left is crazy. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely crazy. And it always comes from these same people too that beg men for money. It's kind of, you start company, you start selling goods, products. Yeah, I mean, it's like a company. Yeah, they sell a goods, they sell a service, they build a customer base, but once their customer base becomes loyal and cult-like, then they treat them like garbage. And that's kind of what they've done here. They've built a cult that is willing to put up with anything thrown at them, and then they treat them like garbage. So... isn't this the guy who tries to insert himself into Jordan? Which guy we're talking about? But yeah. But I agree with Mitzi. Yeah, you have a friends group of monsters that treat everyone horribly, but you'd rather run interference for them, blame everyone else. And that's the thing. Fifi will like make a tweet, she'll attack man, or she'll like attack a bunch of people, make some passive aggressive vague tweet, and then people call her out for her hypocrisy. She'll then quickly lock it up and go, through my point. It's just like she's not doing herself any favors, that's for sure. But yeah, I did see V dying on a hill trying to defend her, and I was like, oh. And then he was just going around calling anyone that didn't agree with him gay and questioning. I'm just like, bro, this ain't the W you think you might be getting. I might have misheard you. Oh, okay. I don't know which one you're referring to. I'm religious and I pray for God and Akano every night. I base take, pray to Akano. Oh, I thought you were talking about the Nux guy. I was talking a little bit about Nux in there, just kind of like how Nux and Fifi were friends. Because Nux was friends with a lot of these types of VTubers. Who's V? He runs a channel, he does a bunch of tweets, he gets into a lot of beefs with different people, and he was one of the people that was defending Fifi and a bunch of the 18 plus content creators. Like, he's a big, like, gooner type person, which, again, I'm not against gooners. I'm a gooner myself, but he's gone from just being a gooner to just being like almost like a simp, where he's just like defending some of the stupidest stuff out there. And it's just like he's ignoring the points being made just to try and defend a bad faith kind of stance on it. I got a little bit frustrated because I was just like, bro, it's not the hill you want to die on, because it just makes him look stupid. I will just live now, link below. Cool, we'll post it on X because I need to make sure people actually know I'm live. Imagine she'll do the same to her YouTube channel. I think she's doing it on Twitter because not every subscriber knows about her true nature on others. I mean, I just think Fifi is just doing the same thing that she always does, where she tries to sympathy bait and tries to paint herself as some holier than saint person. And I'm just like, okay, that's great. You want to do that, you do you, sweetheart. But a lot of us have already seen behind the mask, and a lot of us don't really buy the whole shtick that she's trying to sell to people. I just don't buy it. And I mean, I've been calling out this kind of stuff. And it's kind of funny because I think a lot of people on X think I'm like against non-safe for work or like gooning type stuff and all that. But it's like the issue that I have with a lot of these is just, like I said, a lot of it comes down to the parasocial aspect. I made a tweet like today because there's like there was like one VTuber and she was complaining about how toxic everything is on social media. And I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, aren't you the same chick that literally makes vague tweets about people and takes jabs at people? And then sits there and has like a secret child that you don't want your audience to know about, and actually has a secret boyfriend that she doesn't want her fans to know about. And I'm just like, and then you're trying to suck up to chibi reviews because you're hoping he might give you enough clout that you can fucking build your own audience off so that you can then farm money from an audience of parasocial fans while you still, again, don't want to tell your audience that you have a child. This is why I really, really hate a lot of these VTubers, because a lot of them are just so deceptive about how they go about content. Wait, Nux is religious? Yeah, he's religious. He's very heavily pushes his religion in his videos now. Which is ironic because, yeah, Nux used to be very pro-gooning. He did, like, so much gooning stuff. But then suddenly he went anti-gooning. As soon as... and the funny thing is, I was listening to Leon's stream the other day. It was yesterday. I can't remember exactly what day it is. Everything kind of blurs together. I was listening to Leon's stream and he was talking about Nux. And I'll debate Leon on this any day of the week. Because Leon was like, oh, well, you know, people change and all the rest. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't buy that, Leon. And the reason why I don't buy it, from Words of Paradise, is because they all changed at the exact same time. Rev did it, Straub did it, Tectone did it, Nux did it. Those are just the 5 that I can think off the top of my head. If I sat there for long enough, I could come up probably with a list of 10 content creators that all pivoted pro-gooning, pro-lolly to anti-gooning, anti-lolly, all at exactly the same time. It wasn't a just, oh, they all individually came to their own realization they were anti this. No, they all jumped on it exactly the same time. And then they try and rewrite history and hope that people forget about their past actions and words. And that's the thing that frustrates me, is that I think people have very short memory about things. Nux also is the same guy who started Interspecies Reviewers on... Yeah, he is. That's the irony in it. He used to be pro-gooning. Now he's like anti-gooning. He started the Interspecies Reviewer thing. It's a good thing to remember because, yeah, that was a big fiasco because he was the one that made a video, promoted Interspecies Reviewers, was all pro about, you know, he was all gung-ho about, you know, that's a gooning anime. Interspecies Reviewers is a gooning anime. But now suddenly he's anti-gooning. All of a sudden, all at the same time. All of these content creators did it all at the same time. They went pro-gooning, anti-gooning at the same time. Sorry, I call that a coincidence. And I think there's a little bit of a pattern recognition kicking in there going, 1 + 1 = 2. What a coincidence that when the political spectrum and the political pendulum swings, they all suddenly become anti-gooning. And so I don't agree with Words of Paradise on this whole, well, he just came to realization. No, I don't buy that. I do not buy that. Because they all changed at the same time. Too much of a coincidence. It was a good time. Interspecies Reviewer was a 9.5. Yeah, it was. It was great. It's funny because most of the time, lollies and children are drawn differently in anime. Yeah, they are. Lolly characters and children are drawn very differently in anime. And they're treated very differently in anime as well. But, I mean, you look at, like, Tectone, right? There's a long list of clips of him being pro-lolly, talking about how much he loves lolly characters and all this other type of stuff, and him gushing over them, and now suddenly he's, like, referring to people as the hard P word for liking lolly characters. And the thing is I'm not a lolly type person. I don't really like lolly characters that much. I mean, like, I like Hestia. I've stated that. Hestia is a nice character. And people say she's not a lolly, but I'm like, definitionally, she's a lolly. But it's like, It's just one of those where I'm just like, this is why I just don't really care to associate with a lot of content creators, and I don't care to collaborate with a lot of content creators, because I can see from a mile away how fake they are. You can say people change because of culture. Yeah, I guess in a way, right? They all change because of culture, but it's a political culture that changed them, and they all changed at the exact same time. And in my opinion, as much as that is, you could argue that is correct, that they all changed because of culture, that is still proving that they basically liked something because it was culturally acceptable within their right-leaning space, and now that they're part of that cult, they have to now dislike it, which then asks the question of, are they really an authentic person? And my answer would be no, because their entire personality is built around what the cult demands them to be. So if in a 6 months' time being pro-gooning is the new thing, that's what they'll be. Which is, ironically enough, by the way, the very same people that go about how they want to ban porn, they hate gooning and all the rest, all suddenly started praising and don't like 18 plus content, by the way. Now suddenly they're also the same people that are pro 18 plus content creators, because Asmongold's dated in Fansly and an OnlyFan girl. I just find that also ironic, because the pendulum swings again. They don't deserve the goon server attack. Nope, they don't. That's right. And for those that don't know, my Discord server for Patreon and Discord members only, or Patreon and YouTube members only, we now officially have our own tag for the server. It's called Goon. We have a Goon tag. So if you want a Goon tag on top of Discord access, you can become a member and you get the access to the Goon tag, which like everyone in my server is picking up now, because we're all just like gooners ourselves. And we're all gooners. We love our gooning. But what I don't like is the hypocrisy that comes from gooning, right? These content creators on the right that are all pro-gooning, that suddenly aren't gooning now, but then are pro-gooning because, oh, Asmongold's girlfriend is a Fansly chick, or all the people on the right that are okay with, 18 plus content, it being exposed to children, but also they hate men, but they want a parasocial relationship with their audiences so they can milk money. I just hate it all. It's so hypocritical. It's so all over the place. Hey Tony. Hey all. Saying we'll be here, just not here. Yeah, I hope the weather's okay there, Tony. I know that weather's probably giving you a bit of a headache. Our ancestors were gooners. Exactly. And we need to honor our ancestors as gooners and be true proper gooners. Not hypocritical gooners, but true gooners. Alright, you know what? That is actually a good image there. You know what? I'll show that. That's a good image. Based. But yeah. Like I said, I just wish there wasn't so much hypocrisy when it came to how people approach the whole like topic of like 18 plus content, gooning and all the rest. Because like I said, I don't mind 18 plus content, right? I just don't like how parasocial it has become. But at the same time, there are a lot of content creators that are on the right that used to be pro-gooning that are now anti-gooning, because it's what the culture demands of them. So at the end of the day, I don't really see them as an authentic person. I see them as nothing more than someone that's willing to change their entire viewpoint, not based on their own beliefs, but based on what the cult requires them to believe. Which means they're not even free thinking. They're not even critically thinking. It's ironic because the right constantly praises how they're all about different diverse opinions, but they all have this. They're no different than the far left. So, I don't know. Bit of a rant there on that, because I saw the tweet and I was like, you know what? We'll talk about it briefly. It is a good meme, Candy, because it is literally Tectone. Tectone used to be so pro lolly. And it's so good to see more people waking up to how hypocritical he is. Apparently he just got married again. Don't know how long that relationship's gonna last, but we'll see. We'll see. it was a pretty quick relationship. I think they've only been together for like a year and they got married. So I'm like, that's an interesting jump, but probably because he's desperate to probably get into a relationship and hold her down and maybe actually have a family. But, you know, as long as he's happy, that's all that matters. Not that I think he'll ever really... I mean, he's pivoted himself so hard. He used to be like a gamer, do gotcha content, then he'd bag on gaming, try to get into anime 5 times, fail miserably. Horseshoe theory is real, changed my mind. Oh, no, it's absolutely real. And I've stated it many times. The horseshoe theory is 100% spot on. And that's why I think really people need to realize that you need to stop being part of this mindset that you're part of the left or the right. Just be like, you know, create a third faction, the center. Because that's what the left and the right hate. They hate the center. Because the center won't bend the knee to either side blindly. Did you hear that Vic Miranday got kicked out of another anime convention again? How many times this occurred after the lawsuit? And yeah, I did hear about it. It's one of those where it's like, it's really sad because it's very clear that they're still trying to go after him, even though... And it's funny because they're like, oh yeah, well, he didn't prove that that chick was right. And I'm like, she's the one that threw accusations that he did all these horrible things. And yet she couldn't prove any of it. All it proved was that she was just a backstabbing douchebag. Which is the same chick that voiced Rhea Scrimmery, which is ironic because so many people still defend her because she voice acts their favorite character. It's like, separate the art from the person. Because the art might be okay-ish, even though she has actively defended vandalizing anime, might I add. She has actively defended vandalizing anime. And her voice acting isn't really that good. It's pretty subpar. It's like... She's one of the, like, biggest douchebags out there. Like, she treats people like garbage. It's a gate-kept community. That whole voice acting community is so gate-kept. Which is why people don't care that AI is going to take over that scene. Because it would probably be a good thing once all those voice actors are gone, because then you don't have to deal with the politics that come from it. But, here's a question. Who plays Fire Emblem? It's an important question. Who plays Fire Emblem? Because it will answer how much I'm going to rant. Nothing compared to our queen. Yeah, I mean, Akuno's voice actor, she hasn't been tainted, which is good. That's the one good thing. Not me, sorry. Need some Fire Emblem fans to rant about. Gotta hit that normie slot. Yeah, boy. Because the Nintendo Direct came out, and I did watch it, if it bloody loads, all the bloody different scenes, and I was watching it, and I have a lot of mixed thoughts about the new Fire Emblem game. A lot of American voice actors suck compared to Japanese. Oh yeah, Japanese voice actors are way better. There are some good English voice actors, to be very clear. There are some good ones. But a lot of them are just, like, pretty subpar. But I was watching this, and I could probably go over it, but I don't know if a lot of people are into Fire Emblem. But I watched it all, and honestly, my thoughts about the new Fire Emblem game, because I know Tony's kind of curious about it, because Miku made a tweet on it as well. I don't surely is a good series from what I heard. I'm generally curious what you think of this one, since I heard others say it's good from what they'd seen in the Direct. Yeah, my thoughts about it are very mixed. So, I know some people are always going to use the default. The reason why people complain about the Direct is because of the fact that... And I'll just try and show all the characters so that it looks clear. Alright, there. So these are the 4 characters you're meant to be able to get in the game. Like, you play from the start, you pick one of them, and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of people are crying that it's DI higher. I don't care so much about the dark skins. The issue that I have with the game is several things. One, it is a complete... it's pretty much a copy-paste of Fire Emblem Three Houses. And the reason why is if you go through the direct and all the information about the characters, if you've played Fire Emblem Three Houses, this is basically Dimitri. It's just a cheap version of Dimitri. Overly energetic, or too bubbly, friendship power bullshit, too easygoing. But the objective is that he needs to save his dad out of jail because apparently his dad's in jail. What a coincidence. I could say something so racist, just so sarcastic. But it's just like, I don't know. It feels like a bit of a cliche story. But it's like, okay, he's a Dimitri copy. Then you've got Claude copy, right? Edgy, emo, ooh, I need power. Why do you need power? I don't know. I need power. Very simplistic. Can you schedule your tweets? I just tweet when I tweet. It's a cool looking character to a point, but it feels like a good side character, not a main character. But it feels like a Dimitri copy, where it's just like edgy and gloomy, where every chick is going to overlay over the character. So I'm like, okay, don't really care too much about it. And then you've got Edelgard 2.0, which is just like, Edelgard is anti-church, this chick is pro-church. So they just took Edelgard and said, what if we just make her pro-church? Great. There you go. You've got an Edelgard. And then you've got Rhea, right? Which was the whole... Rhea was like, I need to get revenge because they killed my mother. This one is, I need to get revenge because they killed my father. It's like, great. You've copied all 4 of the different routes in Fire Emblem Three Houses, and you've copied all the main characters from it, and you've done a simple copy-paste. I meant streams, or do you only stream when you want to? I generally just stream whenever I am feeling like it. Sometimes I don't stream because I just feel like crap because of my health stuff, and sometimes, yeah, it's hit and miss. I do like to keep to the schedule when it comes to the podcast, just because that kind of forces me to. Fire Emblem Four Houses head asked. I mean, Fire Emblem Three Houses was fun to a point. The issue with Fire Emblem Three Houses is that, and the problem that I had was not so much the story, even though the story kind of felt a little bit weak in some areas, because the issue with Fire Emblem Three Houses' story is that Edelgard's story is the only story that really makes sense the most, which feels like Edelgard's story is the one that was meant to be canon and all the rest were just kind of slapped together. Because, yeah, Edelgard's story is just, like, it all pieces together pretty well. The rest don't. The issue that I have with Fire Emblem Three Houses is that it's too tedious after you've played it the first time. Because the school mechanics is really, really gets boring after a while. It gets really tedious. They look like they're ready to invade Spain. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's the best one I've heard so far. But yeah, because with the Three Houses, you'd go around the campus, you'd pick up items, you'd talk to units, you'd do your food, your fishing, you'd do your little monotonous, annoying tasks and all the rest. And the problem with Three Houses is it became a chore. It became a really, really obnoxious chore. And you spent more time in Three Houses doing the tasks than you did actually playing the game. And you can say, well, that was part of the game. I'm like, the point of Fire Emblem is to play the turn-based aspect to it. But you spent more time doing chores. What do you think of Fire Emblem Engage? I'll get to that, because my take on that is actually controversial, because I think all the content creators that whinged about it were idiots. But with that, you know, they added in all these annoying mechanics with even Three Houses, which made the game tedious. And the supports for them were kind of bare-bone boring. And they added a bunch of characters that you just didn't care about, which they do with every Fire Emblem game. And then you had Fire Emblem Engage, which was when Fire Emblem Engage realized that they didn't want to add so many annoying, monotonous tasks. So they simplified the area that you walk around in and made it more about the actual gameplay and less about the annoying running around picking up 100 items and doing a million different monotonous tasks. The only issue with Fire Emblem Engage was the story was super cliche. Didn't really care that much. Fire Emblem stories aren't really meant to be that deep and complex unless they're contradictory, right? I didn't really take Engage story serious because it was an anniversary, silly, goofy, let's collab everything together. Free Houses, I took the story more serious because it was meant to be taken serious. The same with this, it's meant to be taken serious. It depends on the situation, right? I didn't really take Engage as serious because it was an anniversary, silly story. Because they added in the ring mechanic, which was funny because all the YouTubers complained about the ring mechanic being like, oh, it's too overpowered, it's not going to be balanced. And I'm like, dude, it's a fun mechanic. And it was balanced pretty well, right? All things considered, Engage balanced the ring mechanics pretty well because they were super fun and powerful. And it made the characters feel interesting, and it allowed for interesting combinations, which allowed for replayability. And the characters were pretty fun and sparky. Like, they all had different cool designs and all the rest. It was very anime-ish, Engage was, but it didn't sell super well. But I think that was just because it was poor marketing. That's interesting. I thought Free Houses was loved for the free houses and the interactions you had there. I like Free Houses for the interactions and the story. It's just Edelgard's route was the route that made the most sense if you go through the lore. Because all the other routes with Free Houses felt very loose. Like, it was very clear they fought Edelgard's route out properly, and then they just kind of attached a bunch of other stuff to fill in gaps. It's just, that's the problem. Edelgard's route felt like the more canon, concrete storyline that made the most sense and was most canonically accurate to what they were trying to portray. As far as the interactions with the characters, a lot of it was good. Some of it just felt a little bit weak. And when I say that, it's mainly because of the other routes, right? Like Claude and all the rest. It just felt like they needed to add additional characters into the story. And so they tried too hard to add character development that didn't feel natural. But when you had Edelgard's story, it felt good. Like the character interactions, the story development. That's the issue. Right, you separate outside the other routes, it was all over the place. You focus on the main route that clearly was the canon route. It felt more consistent. Now, when you look at Fortune's Weave, it's very clear mechanically they are trying to copy Free Houses in every single way. The characters all feel like some type of copy of the 4 routes. Like I said, Dimitri, Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, Dimitri, Edelgard, Rhea. Brain farting there, right? Those are your 4 routes. You can tell that they're basically just kind of copied from Free Houses. Is there something that you liked from the direct? I'll go into that. So, as far as that goes, each one of them feels like a copy of Free Houses. Then, as far as the mechanics go, they've got the whole school system in there as well, right? Because as you go through it, they're like, okay, you got your introduction to the characters. I would say the 2 characters that I actually like the most, just to be very clear, the 2 characters that I do find the most interesting would be the Edelgard character and the Rhea character. The other 2 guys I don't find interesting. They're just boring. But the whole Colosseum thing, I think, is going to get boring. Because from the perspective of it, it feels like you're going to spend a lot of time in the Colosseum. A lot of time. Which might end up getting tedious. I don't know. They might be able to spice it up. They might be able to. And if they can, good. Some of the character designs look really good. I do like the character designs for some of these characters. Like, the chick with the musical instrument. She looks really cool. I do like the other chick, that chick there. I saw her design. She's pretty cool. They know how to make some good designs. Some of them just look a little bit They do feel like DEI hires.
They might counter.
But some of them look really good. And they're clearly going to have the same mechanic systems here where they've got like the big enemies and you can attack from different sides and do weakenings and stuff. So they're going to implement a lot of the Free Houses mechanics. I think they're going to do some stuff from Engage into Free Houses as well. I do like the class system. So they've got like 3 tiers to the class system, which... I'm just trying to work it out where they explain it. Combat's arts. Let's just have a look. There we go. So they have like 3 different types of classes. They got the beginners, or 3 different tiers: beginners, specialty, and advanced. I think that's pretty solid. I've seen some people complain. I think having a good balanced class system is fine with that, because again, they'll have the very basics there. Then you got more choices, and then more choices again. And I like the designs. I like the sprites, the cool looks, the fact that you can get special cool abilities. I like that aspect. What other Nintendo exclusives you play? Ocarina of Time when it comes out. So that's pretty cool. As long as they balance them, they make them feel good. Flying units are probably going to still be weak, because you'll just be able to one-shot them with a bow, even though they're meant to be able to fly over obstacles. I feel like most flying units never do well, because, again, one-shottable with an arrow. Oh my god, are they serious? I just realized they're adding that chick again. I didn't even notice that until then, that they've got her already in the game. It's the merchant chick. Yeah, Anna. Wow, Anna's in the game again. What a shock. So the other thing as well is they've got this whole thing, like, you got the Colosseum, and then you'll be able to like go out into like the world. That feels like, to me, I mean, they're gonna have dungeons and all that there. They're gonna have like all these other mechanics. But my concern with that is that if you're gonna be able to go out into the world, my worry is that every single map is just gonna be a carbon copy of each other. That is generally my concern, is that every single map will look identically the same. But we'll have to see, because there's like a bunch of mechanics they have where you can find hidden units and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, maybe they might have some cool stuff there. I remember when Fire Emblem was a niche franchise with some representation in Super Smash. Yeah, I remember those days as well. I hope the game is good, to be very clear. I do hope the game is good. My concern is that I feel like they're just trying to copy Free Houses too much, and they're not trying to make something that feels interesting and unique. I just feel like they're over-engineering the game just to try and make it Free Houses again, because Free Houses is their highest selling game so far. And of course, you've got a lot of new Fire Emblem fans because of Free Houses. So a lot of them just want a Persona game. That's it. My concern here is that it's going to be all the same mechanics, and they've got like a dungeon system. It's going to be like, go farm materials. You have a certain amount of time that you can go out there to do stuff. So you're probably going to try and find specific tiles to try and do stuff, which will be fine to a point. But I just kind of wonder how they're going to balance that. But some of the systems do look tedious. Some of it looks cool. I like the concept of exploring a big open world map. But my concern is that every map will probably use the same template. So I'm like, it's going to be hit and miss there. And the dungeons, I don't know if they really need a dungeon system where you run around and do stuff. I mean, you can see there where it's like resources, weapons, materials. So there'll be different focuses where you'll be able to be like, oh, I want gold, or I want items, or I want cookie materials, or whatever for the story. The real thing is here is, and this is where I really was just like irritated. You have this entire build up of this story, all these mechanics, and then they're like, by the way, this is the real story. I'm like, really? That's the real story? I might unmute it. Yeah, I don't want to hear the music. Just talk. Because I don't want to get copyright strike, Nintendo.
5 years after the heroic games, Dagda faces its end at the hands of the revived.
And see, that's the thing that's so annoying. They have this whole Colosseum story, and then apparently after the Colosseum story, this is when the real story begins. Like, I get whiplash. I got whiplash when I watched this part, because I was like, okay, so now there's a real secret story, and you've got to go. I'm like, at least with Free Houses, it made sense to have a time skip because the students were integral to the church's shenanigans. Like, they were all intertwined together. And unless they explain it in the story how they're intertwined, I just have a feeling they're trying to put a time skip just for the sake of adding a time skip. It feels like how Awakening had the kids mechanic, and so Fates had to add their own kids mechanic, so they added some weird paradoxical bullshit like Portal World so the kids could exist. It's like a mechanic for existing for the sake of a mechanic. Why? You're trying to make it too much like Free Houses, but you're failing at the execution on it. Because this is where the story actually looks more interesting now. I'm like, oh, cool, we've actually got a villain. Oh, cool, we've got something to, like, go after. Like, you have this entire first half is like, it's the Colosseum. You have 4 characters, and you got to pick which one and do their story, but you can actually switch the stories and all the rest. And by the way, once you've done the Colosseum, actually the real story starts. What was the point of the original? Oh, well, you can go back in time and save them. Oh, so the story's already predetermined. They're all just going to fucking lose anyway, and then you go back and save them. Why? What would have been better is to have a story built in a world and be like, there's these mysterious heroes that were really powerful back in the day that used to help do stuff. I know, let's go back in time and save them so then we can bring them forward and then use them. Add some mystery to it. Add some mystery. Don't make us play the story. Just have that as the story. And then add in the whole go back in time and save them. That would have been better. But it doesn't add the time skip in it. That's why it won't work, because they want a Free Houses time skip. And so they're trying to force a mechanic into a game because they want it to be Free Houses. That's the problem that I have with this game. It's trying to be Free Houses. Because Free Houses sold really well, so they're like, so we have to make another Free Houses. Let's do everything Free Houses does, add a little bit extra into it, over-engineer the game, and make it as cliche as... It's just like, for fuck's sake, try and make something original for once. Time Travel Stories does nothing but cause a mess. Yes! Because they've got an original... They've got the story, then they've got a time skip, but now you're actually going to go back in time and save them. What's the point of playing the original story then? Just have the story, you go back in time, save them, make a parallel whatever, and then just... At least there's some mystery to it. I just... You're trying to be Free Houses. You're trying to be Free Houses. It's annoying.
5 demon god Balor. Even the 4 heroes who played a significant role in the heroic games have vanished.
Whoa! So they completely useless. Are you crashing out? Not yet. I can.
To confront the situation.
And... Okay, now I am. You only added Sylphus as an adult because she was the selling point of Free Houses. To start with, I want the sassy lolly bag. Oh, but lolly... Okay. She was a good lolly. She was a good lolly. Yeah, I do like my dommy mommies. But it feels like you're just trying to do Free Houses, but slightly different. Everything about this is just Free Houses with a new coat of paint. I actually am happy that Sylphie's in it. Sylphus is in it. I'm actually happy she is, because she was the only one redeeming quality that's probably going to make this game somewhat salvageable. But it frustrates me It frustrates me that they're trying so hard to copy Free Houses. That's the problem. I'm just frustrated that I just wish they'd create, okay, you want to keep it in the same universe? Fine. But make it something interesting and unique. Don't try and overcopy Free Houses. Copy the things that worked best for Free Houses and iterate on the things that didn't work. But instead, you took all the shittiest fucking mechanics from Free Houses, which is the annoying let's walk around a town for 40 fucking minutes and pick up items. I don't want to spend my OCD every time having to pick up every goddamn item, talking to every goddamn NPC, doing every single shitty side mechanic and making sure I do my bonus battles to get all my EXP. I don't want the annoying additional monotonous tasks in it. I want to play Fire Emblem, not Fire Emblem Jigga Boogaloo, the fucking chore edition. Fuck off with that. It was annoying in Free Houses after the first playthrough. It was fine the first playthrough. Once you do it the second time, it was obnoxious. I want replayability that doesn't make me feel like I'm being asked by mummy and daddy to do fucking chores out in the garden. Like, no. No. Just get rid of the chores. Don't re-add them back in because the game sold well. It's not Persona 5. I don't give a fuck about Persona 5. I get it. The audience has the brain capacity of a chimpanzee and they need to be directed with fucking mechanics and being like, this is everything you need to do your chore, kid. And Reddit's sitting there going, chores. I don't want to play the game. I want to do chores. I get it. Reddit doesn't like Fire Emblem, so they need a monotonous task. Persona 5 was a mistake. The Persona 5 community is a mistake. They have the IQ intelligence of a rock. I would say a chimpanzee, but that's an insult to chimpanzees. They at least know how to function. They function like a rock. Jesus fucking Christ. I am so over annoying. That's my issue with this. I don't care that they're dark-skinned characters. That's the first thing Reddit's going to run to. He doesn't like them because they're DI. Some of them are DI hires, let's be real here. Some of them just look garbage. They have shitty personalities. Some of them are pretty cool looking. But it's the chores. I don't want the chores. Get rid of the fucking chores. I want to play Fire Emblem with a cool story and sexy waifus. Don't need the chore. I don't want to run around a town for 40 fucking minutes every single finish of a chapter. I don't want to have to pick up every shitty fucking item. I don't want to have to go through a cave and destroy little items and all that. I just want to play the fucking game. Stop adding time sinks just to pad a game's time span out so it looks like you're playing it for 150 hours so they can slap on an extra $10 because you ran around a fucking circle like a bloody delinquent going, I'm picking up items. I get it. Reddit loves that shit because they don't know how to think because everything's about point systems, which is why everything's about upvotes so they can get their points. I actually like to play a game, not a fucking chore. And it's frustrating because there's, I like the Free Houses world and the story outside of the fact that some of it's a little bit cliche and annoying, right? But it's like, sweet, I get Sylphie, I get my sassy lolly back, but now she's a dommy mommy. I like my dommy mommies. I just kind of just like the sassy lolly kind of thing because it just pisses people off. But it's like, just take out the chores. Take out the chores, okay? That's all you had to do. Engage did a better job at taking out the chores. Yeah, we're too lazy to do chores. I want to play a fucking game. If I want to do chores, I'll go do my fucking dishes that have been sitting there. I feel like Asmongold right now. My dishes have been sitting there for a fucking week. I'm surprised they haven't built a fucking new species out there yet. They haven't, I've checked. But I still need to do my dishes. Those are chores. I don't want chores in my game. That's not... I do chores and then I don't want to do my chores. I just did my washing last night before I went to bed. It's like, I don't need chores in a video game. I used to do that with World of Warcraft for fucking like 10 plus years. It was actually more than that. And that's what made me quit games like that. Because I don't like having to log on every day and be like, do my chores. It's the same. No, I don't need it in Fire Emblem. What do you think of the female characters in the game? They're the only good-looking characters in the game because the males look boring. The female characters are the only good ones. Because all the dudes look fucking shit. Expired. So yeah, I know, right? Her eggs are dried up. See, it's why you go sassy lolly. Lollies are internal. I'm not even a lolly. I just love trolling too much. Because Reddit flips out. I'm just like, ugh, get rid of the chores. I still, by the way, have this on collector's edition at JB, which I'll be getting still. I'm too lazy. I'm not going to cancel it. I'm like too lazy to cancel it. I still want to play the game though. And I'm sure I'll enjoy the game. I'll just get frustrated at the chores. I hate how game developers add in obnoxious systems just to pad time out. The dark-skinned males look cute. I mean, Candy, if that's how your boat floats. I know Tony's gay, but I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I like sexy women. Some of the dark-skinned women are nice. The dudes just... I mean, let's be honest here. That stupid kid annoys me. He just looks annoying. I want to punch his face just looking at him. He looks like a Disney character being like, friendship power. Shut up, kid. Go to jail with your dad. Lock him up. Get him out of here. Dimitri, he's a white character and I don't even like him. See, people go, you're racist. Yeah, he looks like an emo goth boy from a shitty rock band. Piss off. Get out of here. Chicks are just going to overlay from seeing his face. Be like, oh my god, he's Izzy. I want to be choked by him. Get the fuck out of here.
The progenitor god, Sophis.
You know what? I'd like for her to sit on my face. I'm just saying.
Calls down a single soul.
You know what? I'll take all the chores if I get the mechanic that she can sit on my face. This is the funniest part, by the way. Once the real story begins, that's when you get the protagonist. This is the default character. I'm just like, that's so funny. That's when I shit myself laughing.
This is the story's true protagonist.
You do all this story, and the real protagonist is this random white-haired dude. It's just like, I'm angry. I'm Batman. Yes, I just like the sassy lolly look because I just think she's adorable that way. But I'm like, to be honest, I do love I love my Dobby mommies more. I'm not a lolly person, but it's just, I don't know. I just like the sassiness.
You are given two choices. Face the forces of the demon god Balor on your own.
Okay, his mechanics do look cool though.
The knowledge that it's no easy task.
I don't know, if you level him up enough, he'll probably one-shot it.
Or use the time-traveling powers of the goddess Fortuna.
I like the way they need to explain the time travel aspect instead of just being like, yep, it's in there.
To change the fates of the four heroes. You must carve your path in the hope of saving Dagda from destruction.
So I don't know if you're actually meant to save all four in the story, or if it's just you pick the one that you want to save. I don't know. The way they make it sound like is you have to save all four. Which, okay, then it doesn't really make it feel unique that you've got to pick all four. So this is why I just feel like the story is just kind of weird. So when is he going to be in a Smash Bro at the Pin Ultimate DLC? They just need to keep adding more Smash DLCs. Just keep doing it infinitely.
Those who join you in the
I still think she's hot too.
future will strengthen the might of your assembled forces.
See, that's how they make it sound. You got to save all four. So no matter which route you play, you've got to play, and I think you've got to play all four really at the end of the day. So their stories are predetermined, and then you play that story, and then you go back and then save them. That's why I just don't really see the point in actually playing the 4 routes. I'd rather it be one of those where it's like you play as him as the story, and then you learn about these 4 heroes, and as you learn about them, you then use the power to go back in time, save them, and then bring them into your timeline so that you can then use their power to help defeat the dragon. That just feels a little bit more interesting as a storytelling component. Because it's like you're hearing about them through the story and the mystery, and then you go back and save them. You just skip the Colosseum part and then you have it all in this main story. That sounds more structured and less awkward. You'll probably need all 4 to that's what I'm thinking. The way they've made it sound. That's why I'm just like, it feels like when you play the game, you've got to play 4 different stories, and then you unlock the sort of this storyline. Like this part, it's not really a storyline, because they're all part of the same story, right? You play your 4 characters, and then you get the final part to the story. And then you go back and then save them, and then you finish it. It's okay. That is a different way of doing 3 houses. Instead of having to pick a side, you just get them all. I'm like, I'll take my hat off there. But I'm like, I just feel like that's overly convoluted and overly complicated. It'd just be nice if I had to draw it with paint, right? So with paint, it feels like what you've got is you've got like 4 storylines, right? Each character has its own storyline, right? And then they all merge together to then make sort of like one storyline at the end. But you've then got to kind of go back, right? You've then got to go, well, I wouldn't even really say it's like there, but right, because that's like the end of the story. But then at some point you've got to go back and then save them, right? And then you're able to finish the story. This game is literally Fire Emblem 4 Houses. That's exactly my point. That's why I'm frustrated at it. Because it feels like they're trying to copy Fire Emblem 3 Houses, but try and change it up slightly. Make sure you've got all the obnoxious chores in it. Make sure the same mechanics are there. Do the same story element system. And by the way, 3 Houses technically has 4 houses if you get the DLC. There's like a hidden house. And even though with 3 houses, there are 4 routes, because you got Rhea's route, which is the secret route to Edelgard's route. But that's what it feels like. It feels like you're just doing the 4 storylines, you merge into one, the end game story, and then you go back and save them individually to then finish it off. That's what it feels like. That feels too overly complicated. What I would have liked, and I don't know why I closed paint, but you know what, we'll open it up. What would have made sense to me is that they have a story there, right? This is your storyline. And then as you're going through the story, right, you're like, oh, I need to save this hero. All right, well, I'm going to go back in time, save that character, and then bring them forward. Oh, what about that character? Oh, yep, I'll go back in time and save them too. Oh, I need that other character too. I'll go back in time and save them too. Oh, need that other character? Go back and... That's where it would have made sense to me, where you go back, save one, go back, save one, go back, save one, go back, save one. And you hear about the characters as you're going through the story. That's what would have... Because then at least then there's consistency, and it wouldn't have... You learn about the characters as you're going through the story, and then you're like, oh, we have a way to go back and save them. So let's save them. Adds an element to the story. Oh, we hear about another character because of that other character? All right, we'll go back and save them. Go save them. Go save them. That, to me, makes more... that feels more structured than the alternative. So, that's what I would have preferred. The other way just feels too overly complicated, where you've got to do 4 stories, then another story, but still go back. It feels like you just kind of just throwing things around. It feels like they just want sounds a bit too repetitive. The original way just feels it feels too much, there's too much mechanics in it. And it feels like they're only adding the 4 story elements because they want to do 3 houses again. That's it. It feels like they're trying to do 3 houses just for the sake of doing 3 houses because it's their best selling game. That's my issue with it, is it feels like they just want to do free houses.
This is where your story begins.
And that's what I mean. They say that's where the story begins. Okay, so then what's the point of the 4 other stories? Because you're probably going to learn about the story where they make the mistakes as you're doing the story. That feels too repetitive.
The end of the world at the hands of the demon god.
And I do find it interesting. They're only showing one god kind of character there. There's clearly going to be another 4. So...
path will you walk?
I've read fanfics with better storyline than this. Yeah, it feels like a fanfic story of 3 houses.
The rest is up to you.
Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave launches September 17th.
It just feels like they're trying to copy 3 houses, and they've realized 3 houses sold really well, so they're like, we're going to do 3 houses again. And we're going to bring in all the most obnoxious systems possible. That's my issue. I don't know.
Only on Nintendo Switch 2. Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo eShop. The Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave Dagden Collection, which includes a 150-page art book, 12-character art card.
Like I said, she looks really cool. She's a cool design. I just don't really care for these 2. He annoys me the most, that kid. Because it's just... I've seen some of the voice acting already for it, and it feels like an obnoxious Disney character.
And more will be available the same day. Plus, more Fire Emblem content will...
Yeah, I don't care. So yeah, I don't know. I do not know. Ugh. Frustrating. It would be cool if the game started with the apocalypse and then hero travels back in time to the heroes who didn't make it in the future. Well, that's what I kind of thought would make more sense, because as you're developing the story, like the world goes to disaster, right? Everything's going wrong. And then as you're playing as that hero, right, you learn about these heroes that could have, you know, and people be like, oh, if only this hero was around, this horrible tragedy happened, but because of this unforeseen event, now it's all like gone wrong and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, well, what if we go back in time and we save them? Kind of like, think of like, actually kind of be almost like copying bloody the Marvel story. But like you go back, save them, and then bring them forward. And it kind of like, as you're doing it, it changes the story, right? It brings the characters forward. It allows you to have that better chance. He's like the brown version of Marth. Yeah, just annoying. Marth was at least not as annoying. This one is annoying. So, I don't know. It's a frustration. Frustration, frustration, frustration. I hope the game's good, but like I said, my concern is they're going to add in the worst mechanics from free houses. I don't want the tedious, annoying systems in it. It could create an interesting idea that these heroes before their prime, watching them develop thanks to... Yeah! I just think the whole idea of mystery would work better, but the problem is because you're playing through the story, you already know that. And I kind of get what they're probably trying to do. They're probably trying to get you to be attached to the heroes that you're going to go save, so at least you have some interest in them. But to do that, you need to make sure every single one of those 4 are interesting. That's the issue. You need to make sure every single one of them are interesting. We'll have to see. Alright, I'm gonna go over a Monta Sensei video. Still better than DxD gotcha game? Anything's better than the DxD Gotcha game. You still need to give me the ASMR stuff, which is, for those that don't know, fun fact, I will be doing an ASMR part to a stream at some point, because when Tony did his AMSR, I said in my Discord, if someone paid me $100 Australian, I would do an ASMR. And so Edekina, how you say it, has paid me a handsome donation of $100 Australian. So he will have the power and the privilege to torture me by making me do an AMSR of his choice. So at some point, I will be doing that. So you all have that to look forward to, because he now has the power to make me read some of the most deranged, weirdest things on the planet, which he's taken his time finding something of great value to make me do. I think the next Smash Bros. Release around 2028 to 2029. They'll probably have to make one when they want to sell more game copies.
Why is this so hard for us to do over here? And it also made me think, why does anime do a better job embracing these themes from Western classics and current day more than we do over here? Even when it comes to Walt Disney stories, anime does a better job incorporating these themes into their storytelling. When it comes to historical creators, storytellers responsible for classic Western stories setting the foundation of so much, we are truly doing them a disservice in how we treat them, destroying and mutilating them, masked behind the guise of modern adaptations, giving people in charge the license to tear them apart. And three that instantly come to mind are Tolkien, creator of Lord of the Rings, which Amazon seems so persistent in
God, Amazon's Lord of the Rings looks so bad. I remember seeing an interview from forget his name now. The voice, the actor for Gonna Go to Sleep Now by You. I'll see you, Candy. I'm trying to think of the actor for The Witcher. Henry Cavill. He was like at an interview and they were asking about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, what do you use of?" And they're like, "Yeah, woo." And he's like, "Yeah." And you can see in his face, he just looks so disappointed. He's like, "Dude, this is such a shit show."
Trashing the identity of that property, Walt Disney, the man behind so many classics consisting of universal themes that will forever be timeless, and of course, Homer, the author of the Iliad and the epic classic, The Odyssey. And these three I know are just turning in their graves, seeing what is being done to their life's work. The people that head our institutions, which are falling apart in real time, are only concerned with deconstructing these works, turning them inside out, ideologically subverting them, handling them with absolute disrespect, no regards for their legacy, ironically approaching them with hubris, as Nolan has with The Odyssey, which is just a shame to see, especially coming from a Nolan fan myself, or at least used to be. Hating to see him become a shiki, as some of you are familiar with that metaphor I used from that anime to describe what happens when activists invade a creative space, converting creators one by one into AMTs, activist-minded types, but that's for another video. But the way he treated his version of The Odyssey is just in name only, because it isn't the
Yeah, the Odyssey movie looks so bad. I've seen people try to praise it. It's got so many issues with it, where it's like, it kind of like doesn't make any sense.
Odyssey, even admitting himself he changed the ending because it was too misogynistic.
The language as well is very modern. It's very contemporary, easy to access. You say dad rather than father.
Make it feel very fresh for modern audiences.
Inspired by the
I love the way the guy from Spider-Man's there too. It's like, dude, I just don't care for him. He's basically the kid that they use to push all their propaganda, and he just eats it all up. A lot of these actors are just trash.
In this translation of Emily Wilson's perspective, but even she stated she didn't like it and wasn't enough to be pleased, even having an article written by a journalist saying he didn't do enough to represent women, which goes to my point is I always
it will never ever please the woke crowd. They always want more and more and more and more and more.
Say trying to please these activists is like trying to fill a bottomless pit. It will never be enough.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
We're so filled with narcissism, lacking any humility when in front of such great works. And what really upset me was when Lupita, who is no Helen of Troy, had the audacity to say if she had a chance to ask Homer about the Odyssey, she would ask,
I'd be like, so Homer, how do you feel about the screen time given to these women, considering how little you spent with them?
Oh.
Okay.
And then do you lean forward and look at him like that?
Yes, like,
Just more representation.
These women think they're so powerful and intelligent, yet they lack any brain capacity. They're just like stupid people that have power. That interview is kind of stupid, by the way. The creator of Kill Bill Cook Him Hard. Oh, yeah.
BS. And if I was in a room full of people and only one of us was chosen to ask a question to such a legendary figure, I would be so angered that such a question was wasted on her. We have no sense of respect in our creative class anymore. We don't honor them, aren't humbled by them, but we look down on what they achieved. We basically look at them as just some random person from the past. And I remember someone asking me on stream along the lines of, will we be able to restore the soul and identity of these Western properties, the personality that made them so great? And I said maybe in 70 to 100, even 1,000 years, because we are nowhere near close to it now. It would be like Jumanji, the good one, where I think his name was Alan, if I remember, discovers the board game accidentally under dirt and rubble to be dug up from some random person in the future. That's how we would have to rediscover these properties. These properties will have to be rediscovered with a clear mind and see the beauty in these stories. I'm talking about all of it. Lord of the Rings, The Odyssey, Superman, Star Wars, going through the history behind such great tales of heroism instead of what we do now, which is just trashing them all the time. I saw recently the author of Dandadan, Tatsu, making an art piece or fan art of Ghost in the Shell honoring Masamune to go along with the recent adaptation being aired right now.
Ghost in the Shell is actually really good. I've been watching it weekly. Every Sunday we've been doing a watch party for the Discord for the members, and it's been fun. We do Mushoku Tensei, Ghost in the Shell, then we do the night one, and then after that we watched High School DxD Season 1.
Now, a wonderful illustration that says it all, like, thank you for what you've created. Artists like you paved the way for what I do now. And I thought, why? Why is this so hard for us to do over here? It's not just saying a simple thank you in an interview, but he actually took the time to draw a piece that does so. That's true respect and admiration for what came before him, and I love to see it. And it also made me think, why does anime do a better job embracing these themes from Western classics and current day more than we do over here? Like the opening to Chainsmoker Cat is filled with so many references of classics from the past. It's like a nostalgia trip that would make you want to rewatch these classics. It's not shitting on them, trashing them like we should be ashamed of them for some reason, viewing them from some activist lens, but presenting them in a clever way that honors them.
Damn straight.
Even when it comes to Walt Disney stories, anime does a better job incorporating these themes into their storytelling. For instance, with the announcement of the new Cinderella movie coming out soon, it will now include the stepsisters not being the cruel, abusive, jealous personality types towards Cinderella, but how they're really misunderstood and how it's not really their fault for how they are. Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if they included some overarching theme of how the evil patriarchy places unreal.
Yeah, it's gonna be another evil man did something and men are evil. It's
beauty standards onto them that has really caused them to act the way they have towards Cinderella. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if so. Regardless, this does a disservice to the original with the attempts to, what I said earlier, not honor, do justice to, but to deconstruct it for modern audiences, subverting it. But in anime, they still embrace this universal theme in such works as My Happy Marriage, where you have this very innocent, soft-spoken woman named Mio, who was abused by her sister and stepmother, treated like a peasant or a second-class citizen, made to do chores, get dirty, given an unpleasant place to sleep, such as Cinderella, where she's made to sleep in the far attic where dust gathers easily.
Trust a woman? Yeah, you can never distrust women.
But through it all, they both maintain their feminine way of being, keeping an optimistic view on life, full of grace. Even an anime that's airing right now, titled Ogre's Bride, where again we have a daughter of a family who shows the same characteristics. Soft-spoken, feminine, but is abused by her sister and parents, treated unfairly and like a peasant as well. But what these characters have in common is that they have a specific disposition that attracts a man of high elite status. that the evil sisters become immediately jealous of, that do their best to sabotage her chances of being with him, whether it's ripping and tearing Cinderella's dress apart so she won't attend the ball, knowing her beauty easily outshines their ugliness in and out, or locking Cinderella in her attic trying to claim they're the mystery woman behind the glass slipper rather than Cinderella herself. And in Mio's case, they're literally kidnapping her, beating her, and trying to instill the mindset that she's unworthy of such a man. Or in Ogre's Bride, where as of making this video, the evil sister's next plan is to sabotage her chances with getting with the man that finds her attractive, wants to marry her, who holds the most highest position in that world, who comes from a very affluent, high-class, highly, extremely respected family. Now, it's airing right now, and I don't know how it'll end, but right now it follows the same theme or formula while carrying its own voice of a story. But real quick, as many of you know, I've been recently learning how to draw and had to dedicate a sketch of your...
I like those stories. Those stories are good. But it shows like the vicious side of other women. And I've said on Twitter, you know, the biggest haters of women are other women. Women will go out of their way to sabotage each other. It's kind of ironic with the first tweets that I was talking about at the start of the stream. that whole like 18 plus chicks that are all like, oh, we all get along, and say, no, they don't. They all backstab each other. They all hate each other. But they all try to present themselves as like they all you know, kumbaya, get along, all kind of thing.
Forger from Spy Family for today's video. And while drawing this sketch, I wasn't quite satisfied with it, seeing it was missing something or maybe some things. Oh wait, the heavies. Yes, of course, that's right. I can't have her without those precious things.
I was wondering what happened to yesterday's podcast. Tony's on holidays. He's currently in Vietnam. Yeah, he's in Vietnam. I keep forgetting the place. He's in Vietnam right now. He is actually watching, I think, but he's just chilling because it's a different time zone a little bit, so he's probably also under the weather because the weather there is pretty extreme. So I think it's given him a bit of bad headaches and stuff. So yeah, we'll be back to probably the podcast next week, maybe. Just depends. So it's a 1 week off. I was gonna stream last night, but when I got home, I was absolutely knackered. After everything, because it was a long day and I didn't sleep well yesterday, so I just decided to do it today and just do a short hour-half to 2 hour stream just for something chill. I do want to stream at some point playing Power World just for fun and just chatting. I don't know when I'll do that, but I've finally got Power World installed and everything, so I might do that sometime this week. You bum. There you go, there's Razor. But yeah.
It's not a perfect sketch. I kind of freestyled her bust from what I've been learning, but I think it did it somewhat justice or enhanced it a little bit. Now, Yor is the waifu that, in my opinion, fits every checkbox. Lady in the streets and someone else in discreet with an outfit to match that suits that more spontaneous dark side. Feminine, not quite the cook, but the effort she's willing to put in to learn means more than so much. Plus, the dark-haired woman in red, which many of you know I am a sucker for, I can't lie. Now, I didn't have time to include a whole bunch of people's sketches. I told Rob last night I would include his sketch, but for my next one, I'll try to find more time to include people's sketches in the last minute.
See you, Jack. Thanks for dropping by.
Editing of this, because I'm actually doing this the morning of before I go to work today, hopefully to have this up later. So, but tell me which character I should do for my next main video in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Now, back to the video. I even did a video a while back doing a scene for scene comparison of Fragrant Flowers Blooms with Dignity and Beauty and the Beast, and how it seems to take much inspiration from that story. So I want to give a scene for scene comparison of when Beast saves Belle. Shout out to Belle. She's a beautiful classic Disney princess. How Beast saves Belle from these wolves, and how Rentaro saves Wagati from these thugs that corner her. She's completely being cornered and just overwhelmed. Of course, she doesn't have the strength to fight these beasts away, and Beast just comes to her aid, becomes her savior, right? He's like, no, get the hell away from my woman. This is a very important scene, right? And so they get scared of him. They run away, right? So this is when the thugs corner Wagati, right? Please let go of me.
Oh yeah, the flower bloom. I love that anime. That was a good anime.
And so basically she's cornered again, and Ritaro comes to her aid, becomes her savior. Just the way Beast did, came to Belle's aid, Ritaro came to her aid. And I want to also do this right here where, okay, Beast, he takes, he took a few hits and, got scratched up, and he's just like, he's out. He's out for the count, right? He's out. You gotta love this scene. I love this. I recently rewatched Beauty and the Beast like a couple weeks ago. I was in my Disney bag. I watched this, Cinderella, The Fox and the Hound. What y'all know about that? Yo, these classic Disney movies, they're better when you watch them as an adult. I'm telling. Man, Disney has completely lost their way, man. Belle, like, damn, you saved me.
The thing about old Disney movies is they're designed to be enjoyed by adults and kids, right? There's like two different stories that have been told that are understandable, right? So as a kid, you understand the story completely different, but as an adult, you understand the finer details of like the old school Disney cartoons. Yeah. And so the problem is that Disney can't create good stories anymore because they dumb everything down. And because they're dumbing everything down on a basic level, the finer details of what makes it good for adults and kids goes away. And it's only good for brainwashing kids, which is why they add in all their DEI slop and all their like just low tier rubbish.
That's like her Prince Charming, right? She was saved by Beast the same way Wagati was saved by him. And he's bleeding. He's wounded up.
That anime is generic. Generic? What? The flower blooms into you? I mean, yeah, in a sense. Yeah, it's generic in the sense that it's a basic romance story, but it does the job perfectly. Sometimes generic is good because you take the foundations of what makes a good romance and you just build on it. You just add to it. Foundations, add its own layer, make it good, make interesting characters, and it sells. Sometimes the problem with a lot of these types of animes or shows, and especially Disney, is they try to add unnecessary complications to try and add some hidden message of the patriarchy, and it loses its meaning. It loses what it's about, and people just don't want to connect to it. Because sometimes generic is good because you can connect to it. Right? It's why a lot of animes are school romances, because it allows for people to connect to something that everyone has a familiarity with, right? A school setting. Everyone went to school at some point. But instead, if you've got like a romance story that's built in sort of like a, I don't know, like, oh, cooking and stuff, I just use it as an example, sometimes it's not as easy to connect to. I understand, but people rate it so high for generic anime, lots of other generic ratings. I think the reason why the Bloom Into You got such a high rating for it being that kind of Romeo and Juliet style story is because it took a formula like Romeo and Juliet style story and it added its own flair but didn't take away the fundamentals of what allows people to connect. Everyone loves a good romance story where it's like two people that aren't really meant for each other but find a way to connect. The challenge is making the connection make sense. Because if the connection doesn't make sense, then people just feel disjointed. It feels weird and awkward and it doesn't make sense. And a lot of new Disney movies and romances in those areas try to do that. They try to make two characters that just don't make sense come together and fall in love. It's like some obnoxious, absolute douchebag chick suddenly gets this Prince Charming guy, and it's like, it doesn't make sense, because it's like, oh, well, she just treats him like garbage, but somehow he puts up with her. But she's sweet, she's innocent, she's kind-hearted. Yeah, she's got some friends that are a little bit challenging because of the issues between the two schools, but those issues that they overcome, and it builds on those. Absolutely, it's generic in a basic sense because it's a Romeo and Juliet style story. That's the generic fundamentals. Romeo and Juliet. But it adds a flair to it. Another good example of a Romeo and Juliet story that I really like is Boarding School Romeo and Juliet, which I have the mangas for. They're in the other room. I love that. It's very anime-ish, right? It's got all those tropes in it, but it's the foundation. It's generic, but it's good. And the only reason why it didn't do super well is because just it never got a season 2, and because it doesn't have this kind of community behind it. So I don't really care if it's overhyped or not. I just care if I enjoy it or not, and I enjoyed it, and that's all that matters to me. Cloverworks Studio like anime. I mean, some animes get a lot of praise, but yeah, either way, that or woke bullshit. Yeah. And that's why I feel like a lot of people love these like Fragrant Flower Bloom Into You kind of stories, because they're not woke. People are tired of the woke slop of some ugly, unattractive woman somehow getting a stud muffin, right? And it gives an unrealistic expectation on unattractive women that don't care about keeping their own standards up, right? There's so many women out there that just treat their bodies like garbage but expect men of high value to chase them. And I've had that happen to me. I've had low value women think that, you know, that I should bend over backwards to chase them. And it's just like, no, I've got better things to do. It's like, you're a dime a dozen. Makes sense because it's available on Netflix. Yeah. Also platform as well. How long has the manga been out? How popular is the manga compared to it? Because if a manga's really popular, the anime might do a lot better. And then if the anime gets done with high quality studio on a platform that's easily accessible, it will generally do better. Like, look at Emmett's in the Shadow. That doesn't get as much praise as it deserves. Why? Because it's on bloody High Dive. If it was on probably Crunchyroll or Netflix, it'd probably do a lot better. So it depends on a lot of factors.
Protected.
But I just don't care as long as it's a good anime. That's all I care.
Right? And the same way the wolves ran away from him, are the same way, look, intimidating. Like, he looked at her like, hey, don't mess with her. And they're like, they run away just like the wolves, just like the wolves. So this is what I'm telling you. The formula works. You got to find your own way of telling it. So he's...
Eminence in the Shadow is on Netflix in Norway. Well, that's good. At least it's got a little bit more accessibility. I know over here, the only way I seem to be able to watch it is through High Dive. Might be on Netflix now. But at the start, when it first came out, it was only on High Dive, which just made it very limiting.
Wounded, right?
It's the same with Reincarnated as a Sword. Reincarnated Sword, absolute phenomenal anime. High Dive. And it sucks because it's a good anime. But because it's on High Dive, people don't care about it because, oh, they only get Crunchyroll subscription. That sucks because it is a really good anime.
And she's trying to heal him, and just the...
I wouldn't call Fragrant Flower generic necessarily. It does romance better than lots of other rom-coms out there, and has other interesting stuff others often don't like to see. I agree, Francis, to a point. I use the word generic because they were saying it's generic, but I'm like, okay, let's look at it. Let's agree to it being generic. Okay, well, what is the generic aspect that someone would look at with Fragrant Flower? And I'm thinking Romeo and Juliet foundations, because that's what it is. It's the whole idea of two schools that are rivals. They don't get along because one's an all girls and the other one's not, and it's boys' school. And one's seen as a delinquent school and one's seen as an upper class school. It's kind of like that whole Romeo and Juliet style, right? So it's got that generic foundation of Romeo and Juliet. And then it adds on these really interesting layers to it that gives it its own flair. Instead of it being two gang rivals or something like that, or two factions, it's two schools. And the students themselves have their own misconception on the schools themselves. And the teachers add fuel to the fire. And it's like, again, it's taking something with a basic foundation and it's kind of adding a new layer to it. And I think that's the most important part about romance stories, is they need to take the fundamentals of what makes romance good and build on it, rather than trying to do what, like, you know, or Netflix and Disney try to do, where they try and take a romance and they warp it into something that doesn't even make sense. And it becomes less about romance and it becomes more about a political messaging about how women should be allowed to enslave men and men are evil. And it's not even a romance. This is an abomination of twisting something at its core value. They take the generic fundamental and they warp it instead of adding onto it, if that makes sense.
way, same way. Why goody? Look at this. Like I mean, like yo, it's like, I mean, come on, yo, it's like almost like a scene for scene, damn near. But you know,
I'm confused when people said generic is to lean good or bad. I think the word generic can be seen in two different ways. I think it'd be seen as good and bad. It's like the glass half empty, half full kind of thing, where someone can see generic as a bad thing, and I think both are true. Generic can be good and bad depending on how you use generic. But I was using the word generic because someone in chat brought it up, being generic, and I'm like, well, sure, you could argue that it's generic, but I think what it does right with it using a generic story system of Romeo and Juliet is that it adds its own layer. That's why I love the Fragrant Flower Blooms, right? Because it takes the Romeo and Juliet style story and it adds its own unique way of interacting, right? He works at a cake store. His family is loving and caring, right? It's not like he's generally a bad person. He's just misunderstood because of his hairstyle and because of where he goes. But when you look behind that first layer, you see a person that is generally caring, hardworking, all the rest. And she sees him for what he is. She sees behind that layer. While all the people that don't like him see him for the surface level. So that's that misunderstanding. And that's what I mean. It takes the fundamentals. You could use the word fundamentals of a romance and then adds a unique spin to it. But yeah. I hate people, I dislike people hating on simple stories just because they have cliches. I think cliches get a lot of hate unnecessarily. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people just see cliches as, like, unrealistic. But the thing is, cliches exist for a reason. Tsunderes are realistic, right? There are a lot of chicks out there that are tsunderes, right? There's a reason why cliches exist. There's a reason why tropes exist. It's because it's built on the idea. Sometimes they over-exaggerate them a little bit, but there are a lot of women out there that are very tsundere-like, where they will pretend to not like someone, but they actually secretly do. I knew a chick in high school that was an absolute cow to me. She was the biggest bee to me for years in high school. And then I found out years after high school, she liked me the entire time. The entire time she had a thing for me. But it was just like, she was like the biggest tsundere in real life. And it was just like, you know, if you weren't such a douchebag, or at least tried to approach me in a more civil, you probably, something could have potentially happened. But because they overdid the tsundere, it never worked out. So it was just kind of funny. And now she dates like some really sleazy douchebags. It's like, well, sucks for you.
You'd hold still.
Shout out to Bill. I always love this in movies where the guy's like way too beastly and she's just trying to help him. Now, it doesn't quite play out like this in Fragrant Flowers. You know, he allows her to heal him.
Nostalgia Critic, for example, hates cliches. It's so frustrating, though, understandably, since he's frustrated as a person already. I think a lot of people just hate cliches because still better a real life yandere. Yeah, well, that's true too. But I feel like a lot of critics in content creation, they just like whinging but not being realistic about what they're whinging about. Because I think a lot of people just whinge about cliches and they don't really understand that cliches do exist in the real life. That's why they exist. It's like, where do you think a cliche came from? Thin air? It's like, no, they're based on real human interactions. And trust me, they do happen. Maybe not as often and maybe as exaggerated in stories, but they do still happen. But I just feel like a lot of content creators do just whinge about cliches just for the sake because it's a cool thing to hate. It's like isekais, right? A lot of them whinge about isekais just for the sake of whinging about an isekai.
By the way, thank you for saving my life.
It's the first time he's actually heard somebody say thank you in the longest, I don't know, I forgot how many years he spent as a beast, but it's like refreshing, like, oh my gosh, she's being kind to me. Okay, so this is the first time somebody's actually had a positive first impression of him, right? And his eyes light up like, what? Nobody's ever said that to me before. Just the way she says, thank you. By the way, I want to say thank you.
By the way, thank you for saving my life.
Yeah. So they both of them almost have, you know, they're surprised. They have a shock of just, they have an expression of shock, like, wow, somebody's actually said that to me. So this is when they become more familiar with each other. This is a classic trope too, right?
I can't.
You mean you never learned?
I learned.
I forgot. And then so Wagari in her school, she's like the top student in her school, right? And she's a real true academic. She makes honor roll every semester, whatever, how that translates in Japan.
I mean, like I said, Francis, like I had that cliche in high school, right? That's like that kind of tsundere type character. I've had many cliches. Like I've met many people that are very cliche in their personalities. You know, the socially awkward, the sort of the ditzy dumb types out there. Like there's a lot of those types of people out there. It's just, you know, sometimes they're far and few. As I got older, I like safe formula stories as long as the uniqueness is yeah, I mean, as long as it takes the fundamentals, the basics, the generic aspect to it, and it builds on it. I just, when I see a lot of Disney and DEI stuff, I just see them twisting and creating an abomination on what works. And it just feels so disjointed, so out of touch. It's just, yeah, it's an abomination. It's the most basic way to go about it.
And Rentaro is not so bright, or he's not the best student, right? You know, it's like a goal for him not to go to summer school, something the equivalent of that, right? Let me turn this volume down. Now that we're both full, shall we get to studying? Another formula. So Belle, she's the daughter of an engineer. So she's very intelligent, very academically inclined, right? And same with her, Wagari. Like,
Well, here, I'll help you. Let's start here.
yeah, great, man, great. And so she says, we're starting with math, right? Could we start with this part? And then she says, here. Which part? And so it's almost like this, like,
Start here.
let's start here.
Okay, 12.
2.
I knew that.
And see, that's what I mean. It's fundamentals. It's working with the basics. It's working with a formula that works. But it's changing it. It's building on it. It's creating its own flavor. It's like a cake, right? Not every cake tastes the same, but it's still a cake, right? That's the same with romances. You can bake 5 different cakes, which is ironic for the story that we're talking about on the left, but it's like baking 5 different cakes. They all taste different, but they're all still cakes. That's how romances should function. The fundamentals, the basics, the foundation should be the same, but it can have different flavor. And that's how a romance should work. The problem with a lot of these DEI slot ones is they're not making a cake. They're making a pizza and trying to present it as a cake. And then you're confused why it doesn't taste like what a cake should taste like within the boundaries of what a cake is.
And in here, of course, they're studying. You can solve this using either elimination or substitution. She's helping him. This it's the same, type of scene, right? Same type of scene. She's teaching him, Belle is teaching Beast, and Wagari is teaching Rentaro, right? Both great love interests in the story, man. Shout out Belle and Wagari. Great love interests. So many examples of anime that captures that Disney spirit more than Disney ever could.
It's funny you saying it because Bo likes cake. Yeah, I realized after I used the cake analogy, I was like, that's kind of funny because that's what the story's about, is cake. So that's pretty good. It's a clever way to word it.
In current day, a sad reality where the people in charge are adamant about destroying his legacy rather than preserving it. Anime still embraces these themes of the hero's journey in many works, where you'll have a guy character who comes from a humble village, have a tragedy occur amongst his family, and accepts his call to adventure, becoming an apprentice and mastering the ways of whatever it is he's seeking to bring about good in the world again. Where over here in the West, the hero's journey is basically summed up as sexist, toxic masculinity, or misogynist, just nonsense overall, whatever buzzword it is. All of these reasons eventually add up to why anime has overthrown and dethroned Hollywood, which used to be the mecca of entertainment, and if carefully examined, it's obvious and easy to see why. But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Something I hate to see are these legendary creators that in their death, their creative works they spent their whole life on being taken advantage of and not done justice by other creators in current day, who had the privilege of handling them in modern day. And something I thought that maybe future creators should think of is at the end of their novels or stories, whatever it is, they should add an author's note stating that any adaptation made past this without their sole approval is an unofficial, bastardized, should be condemned adaptation or sequel by the true fans. Because back in the day, they probably assume anyone who works on what they created surely would do their best to continue its legacy instead of tarnishing it. But as we see more and more, that sadly is not the case, and I think I'll make a separate video to dive into that proposal much more. Also, if you want to support the content I create, consider joining my channel.
But yeah, anime just does it better. It does. When it's not being bastardized and destroyed from within, it's a solid foundational good thing. That's what I like. Spider-Verse has good hero journeys. They do. I haven't watched the new Spider-Man movie. I don't really care too much to watch the new Spider-Man movie. I'm just like, I'm just kind of done with Marvel movies at this point. Because I find most Marvel movies are just kind of boring. They're not really doing anything unique with them. They're just kind of like taking the Marvel movie and then adding a political spin to it. And I did see some of the trailers for the new Marvel movie, but it felt like it was trying to copy what the original one did, just with the whole memory wipe. And I was like, I don't really care too much. But yeah. I've washed my hands of Marvel. I have too. I stopped watching Marvel movies after Endgame. I just didn't really care much for it. I just feel like it can't really do much beyond that point. As far as DC goes, I just don't care for DC. It's too messy. DC's just it's all over the place. I want to like the superhero movies and stuff, but I just... Nah. Too copy-paste. Too much political propaganda in it. I heard it's very good, although I understand the MCU is doing not good so far. I mean, I've heard the Spider-Man movie is good, but pretty much everything else is just not doing... And that's the problem. Marvel's getting more losses than hits now. So, I'm just like, I just don't have any passion for it. It's just like, I'm not even curious when people are like, oh, I just don't care. And I feel like also the fact with Marvel stuff, you've got to watch the TV show, you've got to watch the movie, you've got to watch this, you've got to watch that. It's just all disjointed and all over the place. But this movie has a reference to this and that. It wasn't too bad when it was a bunch of movies all linked together where it was like, oh, you watch these 5 different movies and it links into this one cool movie. I was like, that's fine. That seems like a lot, but it's 5 movies and you get to enjoy some special movie story and they all link together. You don't have to watch all of them, but if you want, like, all of them, but if you want to watch this storyline, you watch them all and then you get that. But you could watch them all individually and not worry about it. The problem now is that you've got to watch 20 different movies and 5 different TV shows just to be able to understand half of the goddamn movie. And I'm just like, at that point, it's too much work. And even then, it's more than 20 movies. It's more like 50 movies at this point and 10 different TV shows. And the TV shows are all like mostly shit, right? 8 out of 10 of them are shit. And out of the 50 movies, a bunch of the later ones are all gone to shit too. And it's just like, I gotta slog through all of this just to be able to understand the latest movie. It's like, I'm not really gonna waste my time. And a bunch of it's got politics in it. I don't really want to waste my time. And that's the problem. You've got to force yourself to watch a bunch of bad movies and a bunch of bad TV shows just to maybe understand a maybe okay movie. Loki is the best show out of the bunch. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the Loki one. That's probably like the best one out of, but that's the problem, right? Out of like 10 of the TV shows, 2 of them might be good. But you've got to watch them all to understand what's going on in the movies. And it's just like, I got to watch all of them and most of them are shit. I'd rather just not waste my time. MCU can survive with just Spider-Man slot movies. I mean, if they went back to the foundations, they'd probably be alright. Like, do another Marvel movie. Do another Iron Man movie. Tony's got... Iron Man's dead, but let's just say, like, right at the end of Endgame, Tony wasn't and Captain America wasn't killed, right? Or disappeared. I think they're retconning part of it anyway. But, you know, the easiest thing they could do is do another Captain America movie. They could do another Iron Man movie. They could do another Spider-Man movie. Another MCU kind of like Civil War kind of monster hero thing, kind of bring them all. Another, I was going to say, 4 movie. But they screwed up the last bunch of 4 movies because they just went to slop as well, right? But that's the thing. That could have been an easy W for them if they didn't screw those over. Miss Marvel and Secret Wars are completely dog shit. Never watched them. I've heard Secret Invasion is really bad. I've heard it's really bad. And it's just one of those where it's like, oh, the invaders are actually the good guys and the humans are the bad people. And actually, Nick Fury had a kid with one of the... I'm just like, what? What? Okay. Oh, it's just too much. But yeah, I didn't really care for Miss Marvels. I mean, it doesn't also help that, like, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is excellent, but that's because James Gunn worked on it, so there's no surprise. Yeah, some of them are still good. Some of them are still somewhat solid. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of sucks because I'm a big fan of Iron Man, right? I like the Iron Man movies. But because of the fact... Well, I mean, it's not like they can do any more Iron Man movies. And that's the funniest part. Iron Man was probably one of their best sellers that could have kept selling them. But because they killed Tony off... And also, Tony was getting... Robbie Downey Jr. was getting really expensive, which is ironic because they killed him off so that they didn't have to pay him for stuff anymore, but they ended up bringing him back because they couldn't sell a good movie. So inevitably, it's like Thanos. It's like, where did this all lead you? Right back to him. And that's probably the only reason why people are probably going to watch the new Marvel movie is because they brought back Captain America and Tony, or Iron Man, but technically they're not even brought back Iron Man. They just brought back Robbie Downey Jr. Yeah, DC just is terrible. Like, I think they're trying to reboot it again. It's what, like the 5th reboot. I just don't care about DC anymore. There's too many reboots. But yeah, I think the biggest mistake with the Marvel movie was killing off Tony Stark or Iron Man. I get why they did it for 2 reasons. One, because they needed to put some stakes at the end of it, but also the fact that he was getting too expensive. But the issue is that the issue is that I think that's the only major selling factor when it comes to a lot of those movies. And another Iron Man movie could have been an easy W for them. But he's too expensive now. He's way, 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 way too expensive. Well, is Victor Von Doom, but with the face of Tony Stark? They said it isn't Tony Stark. Yeah, I get that, but I keep accidentally referring it to Tony Stark. I get that, you know, there's like it's got the face, but it isn't quite him. But it's just hard to kind of separate it because Robbie Downey Jr. always is kind of like Iron Man to me. He really encapsulated that character, which he did a great job, might I add. He's a phenomenal actor, even if he's gone completely batshit insane. It's ironic because of some of the things that he's done in his acting career. And he's gone completely, like, woke and sold out. Have you ever seen the animated series of Iron Man? No. I think what they should have done is end the MCU after Endgame. That would have been a great scene. What they should have done was probably try to create some type of soft reset within the story and tried to bring in new actors to try and play out some of the roles and create new villains. Be like, maybe it created a villain, right? A new villain that destroyed the timeline and kind of like soft reset it. And now these new heroes are going to learn about those old heroes and then use the knowledge from that to kind of like beat out this new villain. And so it kind of like soft resets all the old actors so they can have new actors to then play out those roles. That way it wouldn't have cost them so much. But, yeah. I just think the biggest issue with those types of stories is it, you know, when it's in a comic, it's not so bad because you can use the same character indefinitely because it's a drawing, right? But because in a movie you need an actor, the actor's pay goes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And that's the biggest part. It's the biggest problem with like Robbie Downey Jr., right? Every single new movie, his paycheck had to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And inevitably, they can't afford him. So they have to get rid of him. But he's the only thing bringing them back. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I could go on a long rant about the MCU because the MCU was just like an absolute disaster. So no matter how bad those movies, you could be to hope the next movie. I think at this point, the MCU is just kind of at that point where it's too far broken. There's too many actors that need to be retired. It's gone on for too long. And I think that's the biggest issue. It has gone on for far, far, far too long. Just seeing if there's anything. But yeah, America doesn't seem to have much creativity when it comes to this stuff. They do, but they're just... The problem with the MCU movies, they've overcomplicated, they've overconvoluted it, the actors are too overpaid. They want to reset the actors, but they're too scared to reset them because it's the only thing that's bringing them in. And then on top of all that, they've got all this woke slop in it, and it's just like... or follow the comics like how anime follows. Yeah, and I think that's the best thing that a lot of fans can do is just go to the comics. For me, I don't have the time to read more stuff, right? I have enough stuff that I've got to read and go through and all the rest. So it's like, for me, I'm just like, I'm not really as caring about chasing that as well. I mean, yeah, they do have creativity. I just think when it comes to the MCU, they're lacking in the creativity because they don't want to talk about the thing. Well, what I mean is always Marvel versus DC is always the same with superheroes. I mean, I don't really care much for the whole Marvel versus DC arguments of which one is better and which one is worse. For me, with the DC, I love like Batman and all that. With Marvel or the MC universe, I love like the whole Iron Man and Tony Stark kind of storylines. But I think both universes have massive problems where the DC universe is overly reset too many times. They've just tried to reset it over and 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 over again because they keep messing up the story in little ways and they can't seem to really stick the landing. But with Marvel, they've stuck the landing for a really long time. But now they're stumbling, and now they're at a point where it's like, even after this new Marvel movie, let's say this new Marvel movie is really good, right? And they absolutely knock it out of the park. What are they going to do after that? Go back to the TV shows and mass movies again? They've got to milk the actors that they've got because no one wants new actors. So unless they try, and they're trying to bring back nostalgia, it's not like they can bring in a new Spider-Man. They have to either keep bringing him back or kill him off. Or they're going to create a new version of Spider-Man, but then people don't really feel as attached to that Spider-Man. And so this is the problem. It's really hard for Marvel to keep going down the path they're going because no one cares anymore about a lot of these newer characters. And the older characters are slowly having to be retired because they're getting paid too much. And plus, what really screwed them up was they had to destroy the Kang universe because of that guy that got into trouble. And that's the irony in it. That guy got into so much trouble over that scandal, and now they screwed up that storyline. They're gonna soft reboot starting with X-Men. Probably. I think they're gonna try and soft reboot. And that's probably the smartest thing they can do. But the problem is, are people going to even care? So... But yeah. Marvel DC needs to learn their lesson from movie makes in like Who Killed Captain Alex. Yeah. The Screen Act of Kosher are being voted on for the committee in US. Okay. But I have heard they're trying to soft reboot. It actually reminds me of World of Warcraft, how World of Warcraft's trying to soft reboot their storyline, and that's a whole different bloody story that I could go into, because I think World of Warcraft's story is an absolute dog shit. And I despise Blizzard now. I absolutely despise Blizzard, and I despise Chris Metzen. I used to love Chris Metzen as a writer. I despise him now. I generally think he's just a garbage human being. That he is now shacked up to a company who lied about men, made up fake stories to try and destroy the gaming industry so they can push their DI slop. And Chris Metzen gets in bed with them. What, for a couple of extra bucks? I'm just like... Pfft. And now they're going to try and reset the story there because they made such a shit fucking story recently. I'm just like, that generally triggers me. Blizzard. I will never play another Blizzard game. And Diablo's shit. Diablo's shit. StarCraft's gone to shit. World of Warcraft's gone to shit. They can't even make any new games because they can't make anything without milking nostalgia. I guess Microsoft might be bloody kicking themselves because of the fact that Blizzard might be ended up slowly withering away. But there's so many better other games out there than that slop. Blizzard does bad not only in MMO, but in other games like Overwatch. I mean, Overwatch is gone completely as well. And I don't know. Riv Overwatch, right? That game started out solid. Overwatch did. And this is something I said to my friend Ace. I said to him, as Overwatch goes out, they're going to keep screwing it up because they're going to overcomplicate things and shit. And all the new heroes are just bad. They're boring. They're DI. The story doesn't really even exist. It's just one of those where it's just like... Overwatch was trying to capitalize on Marvel. That's what it was. The whole idea of heroes and villains and all that kind of stuff. But they just suck at balancing the game. The only thing that kept Overwatch alive was the porn. Diablo, they can't even do the story properly. So many ways they can fix Diablo, they won't do it. Because they never listen to their community. Because they think they're better than the community. And I watch a couple of Diablo content creators, like Rux, I forget what his name is. None of them ever are critical to Blizzard on a proper level because they're scared that if they say anything Blizzard doesn't like, they'll cut communication. So you basically have to be like really delicate with Blizzard because Blizzard's too sensitive to receive constructive criticism. So you've got to like butter their ego up and polish their balls and gargle them a little bit. Overwatch can just make characters and the company is saved. I don't know about that. Because a lot of their characters are boring and bad. And they have to keep rebalancing them. Some of the skins in the early days were good, but then they nerfed a lot of the assets. I mean, Blizzard just needs... Well, the thing is, Overwatch is too broken at this point. They can't fix what they've already done. It's just too far gone. The only people that really played are those that are still loyal to the old sort of legacy of Overwatch. But the game's kind of just dropped off. There's far better versions of those games out there. Overwatch can just make a hot character and Blizzard is saved. That would be better, but I don't think Blizzard's ever going to do that. And I think they're too far gone at this point. Like, they're too politically captured. That's the problem with Blizzard, is they're too politically captured. It's the same with Blizzard. World of Warcraft, right? With World of Warcraft, their story is bad now. Like, they're getting rid of all the different factions of the elves, and they're merging them into one, and making sort of one faction, and getting rid of the war out of Warcraft, and just making it as sort of like some overarching big villain, and resetting the story, and the story just feels hollow. It feels boring. It feels surface level. And you could get rid of the two factions and still have the war in Warcraft, but they don't, because they suck at storytelling. They suck at world building. And Metzen is no help. Metzen is just there as an encyclopedia so they can trash on it. They should learn from Marvel Rivals now. That's a good hero shooter who does things better. Yeah, but they're not going to learn. Normally Blizzard is good at taking ideas and polishing them better. They're not. They suck at it. They absolutely suck at it. So, but yeah, I think for next stream, I kind of want to play Power World. I just don't know if I want to do gaming stream, because with gaming streams, people don't really care about them as much, but maybe I'll experiment with Power World and see what the reception is for it and just chat while we go over things. What I could do is react to some stuff while playing Power World and have like the video on the top right hand screen, me in the bottom right hand screen, and then the video itself playing, and see how things go. I might experiment around with some things. Only thing saving Overwatch is Rule 34. Love my Mercy content. Yeah, that is literally it. And they're trying to kill the Rule 34 stuff on it, but they forget that that's the only thing keeping that game relevant. The reason why they hate it is because all the lesbian characters, they put them into straight ships, and then they get angry at it. And I just think it's funny. Overwatch stole the flying hero idea from Marvel Rivals. Now that's desperation. I mean, that's what Blizzard does. They take ideas and they shit it out worse. Did you saw the video on Chibi Reviews talking about... Yeah, I already know fully about the situation. I don't need to watch Chibi's video to know about it. I follow it on X. I actually already covered it, like, ages before Chibi did. Like, the latest version. It's just, I talked about it on stream. But yeah. Maybe next stream I might play some Power World. We'll see how things go. But all things considered, there's not as much drama other than this dumbass here. Why do all goon bait games look the same? They don't. You're just stupid. So, but yeah, much appreciate everyone dropping by. Like I said, I might try and do some Power World stream next time. Just chat, go over some questions, stuff like that. I do want to... I know I've said this for the millionth time. I do want to get this room sorted out sooner rather than later. So I might start actually getting shit sorted out so we can actually start doing the unboxing soon. Because all the Alia figures will be here soon. So I can do the Alia unboxing soon. And that will be a big sort of thing. I'll have to work out the value of every single figure, write it down in a notebook or a spreadsheet so I can actually at least work out how hard I can clickbait. So, yeah. South Korea and other Asian countries are supposed to compete with Western, not emulate Western culture. Yeah, well, that's a good point, too. Good to see. Yeah. But, yeah, have a good one. Thank you, everyone, for dropping by. And I will see you in the next